I don't hear any shooting. No shooting at all. Russian tanks haven't rolled into Ukraine. And I wonder, are we being conned? Because last week, of course, US President Joe Biden reportedly told world leaders that Russia could invade Ukraine by yesterday. And Ukraine's president even tweeted that, yes, indeed, we are told that February 16 will be the day of the attack. We will make it instead the day of unity. And on this day, we will hang national flags, wear blue and yellow ribbons, as Ukraine's colours, and show the world our unity. But that said, Ukraine's president used to be a comedian. He used to star in a comedy about a teacher who, to his shock, became president of Ukraine by ranting to his class about corruption.
Василий Петрович Голобородько?
Да.
Доброе утро, господин президент.
And early this week, this comedian president of Ukraine said he was actually joking about that invasion this weekend. But who else had been joking? Was Russian President Vladimir Putin joking when he sent 130,000 soldiers to Ukraine's borders and warned of war? Or is he joking now? Now, when his generals have released video that they claim proves that they are now pulling back. Because the boss of the NATO Defence Alliance sure doesn't believe Putin.
We do not see any sign of de-escalation on the ground. No withdrawals of troops or equipment. This may, of course, change. However, what we see today is that Russia maintains a massive invasion force ready to attack.
Now to an astonishing story that the mainstream media has pretty much ignored. I mean, we're talking here about a scandal. For years, as you know, the media ran fake news that Donald Trump had colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 presidential election by spying on the emails of Democrat candidate Hillary Clinton and leaking them. Now that, we were told endlessly by the media, was massive news.
Tonight, we begin our special three-part investigation into the story of the century, the election of US President Donald Trump and his ties to Russia.
In fact, that story of the century was totally fake news. We now know that the claims of Russian collusion were based on a file of gossip and lies and fantasies put together by someone paid by Clinton's campaign through lawyers. One of the people who worked on it has even been charged with lying, and a special counsel appointed in the dying days of the Trump administration is now investigating the whole fraud. Trump actually tried way back to say, hey, listen, the only spying here that was done was not by me, it was by Clinton's campaign. But the media didn't want to know.
The biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
There's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is. It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Donald Trump and William Barr promised that Durham would expose huge corruption, but he hasn't done that.
Is apparently an ongoing, concerted Republican and pro-Trump project to try to turn the investigation of the Russia scandal into some kind of scandal itself.
Oh, no. OK, wait till the Durham report comes out. And then nothing happens and they just move on to the next conspiracy theory. It is never going to end. And guess what? People who want to believe that BS are going to believe it.
Well, they may have scoffed, but it now turns out that Trump could be right. That special counsel on Friday filed documents outlining his claims so far. And they include this allegation that Clinton's campaign paid an internet company to infiltrate Trump's computer servers. And not just at Trump Tower, when he was just the candidate, but at the White House itself when he was president. And it did this is the claim, to try to push the Democrats' fake allegation that Trump was colluding with Russia. Now, spying on the president, it doesn't get much more serious.
Yep, there was spying going on, and it was worse than we thought, because they were spying on the sitting president of the United States.
But have you seen a single big story in the mainstream media about this, outside Fox News? Jack, that story has now been completely debunked, of course, after a year-long official investigation by former FBI boss, etc., but not until journalists on the New York Times and Washington Post won America's top journalism prize, the Pulitzer, for pushing those fake claims. So why has that prize not been stripped from them?
This is one of the biggest stories in America now, and it's actually come over to Australia because, as you've noted, Four Corners took a lot of that reporting and they assumed that the substance of that reporting was correct to the degree that they characterised this report into Donald Trump and the allegations as not only being true, but so negative and so inflammatory that if you were to do it to another candidate, there would be complaints filed against all sides. But this is the most remarkable story because what this shows is a coordinated effort to allow these lies to propagate. And now everybody that was responsible for this, every single person in the media that allowed these lies to proliferate through social media, they're pretending that it never happened. It just mysteriously disappeared, the whole Russiagate allegations. And it's honestly a really big shame that our national broadcaster hasn't apologised for its role in this misinformation.
Prince Andrew has given in. He's now utterly disgraced. He's now handed over a reported $20 million or so in a confidential deal to shut up Virginia Giuffre. It's a private settlement to stop her taking him to court. She accused him of sleeping with her when she was a 17-year-old girl and a victim of a sex trafficking ring, headed by Andrew's mate, pedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, now dead. Giuffre had sued him. The prince has given in, despite, of course, having claimed very noisily that he was innocent.
Look, I can tell you categorically, I don't remember meeting her at all. I do not remember a photograph being taken. And I've said consistently and frequently that we never had any sort of sexual contact whatever.
Well, for all those denials, I don't think an innocent man, given them, would hand over $20 million to his accuser rather than clear his name. I'd sell my house rather than have that hanging over my head if I thought I was innocent. I started the show by talking about today's crazy race politics, including some people so ashamed now of being white they call themselves black. But it gets even crazier. The word racist. I've got to ask, is racist now the most meaningless insult around, one of the most dishonest words? I mean, doesn't it actually now mean simply shut up or I hate you? Last week we saw an academic even claim that Scott Morrison liking white bread suggested something racist.
Who eats white bread in this country? Anglo men. I think that it shows a deep lack of understanding as to who works in this country. I think that there's a deep intersection of race and class.
That was so obviously stupid. The ABC's Media Watch this week tried to claim, oh, no, but it was all just a joke.
As for the academic at the centre of the storm, she told Media Watch the white bread comment was tongue-in-cheek, and she's shocked it has attracted so much fuss. So are we.
Rubbish. She was serious, and just one more piece of evidence that race politics has gone insane, and the ABC doesn't want to admit it. In fact, now let me show you more of this madness. At Oxford University, a vegan extremist claimed that eating meat was racist too.
The assumption that the best protein comes from corpses is a racist belief. White supremacists weaponized it, eating meat, eggs, and dairy. And the baiting of liberal men as so-called soy boys are all part of the neo-Nazi messaging.
Staying in England, a West Ham soccer star was filmed slapping, hitting, chasing, and even kicking a cat. But his teammate, Michael Antonio, had this response to journalists.
Do you think what he's done is worse than racism?
In the United States, rapper Jim Jones saw even more racism when shopping in a Gucci store.
We've been in Gucci for about an hour, right? And we're in Gucci in the VIP.
We've been in Gucci for like 2 hours.
Right? Since we came in here having nobody came and showed us no courtesy, no amenities, no nothing. I still ain't getting no sparkling water. I still ain't getting no champagne. They hire these black people, and these black people are more racist than white people when they get their job.